All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Raiders Daily. My name is Jackson. I post daily Raiders content. Be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button if you enjoyed. The NFL draft is officially over. And personally, I think the Las Vegas Raiders killed it. Real quick, before we talk about the NFL draft, I just want to quickly address the offseason. I think they did perfectly fine. In fact, I would go ahead, I would say I give them a B grade. I think a lot of their pieces, guys like Jimmy G, Jakobi Meyers, I think they're needed. All right. And I like the new faces coming into town. I know the Darren Waller trade wasn't great for some fans. I know losing Foster Moreau, hope he's all right. Losing Denzel Perryman, Mac Hollins, even Derek Carr. I know, Raiders fans were skeptical heading into the NFL draft, but I really think the Raiders killed it. In fact, just to keep it a buck real quick, I'll go ahead and give it an A grade. So let's start with the Tyree Wilson draft pick at pick number 7. All right, defensive lineman, edge rusher out of Texas Tech. I view him as extremely versatile. And when we take a look at the Raiders defense last season, that was the big red flag. All right, the Raiders did not have a good defense, and this is something it's going to take some time. Even if Tyree Wilson on the other side of Max Crosby paired up, you also have Chandler Jones on the defensive line. Even if it doesn't work out immediately as an A+, I think long-term Tyree Wilson offers the Raiders versatility. I think he is a skilled pass rusher. I think he was probably, the second best pass rusher in the entire NFL draft. And I know there were some top cornerbacks available like Christian Gonzalez. I know Jalen Carter was still on the board, but building a culture is important, for Jalen Carter specifically, and I still think Carter is going to be a stud, but I'm not upset with the Tyree Wilson pick at all. In fact, I haven't seen any Raiders fans or NFL like insiders or reporters or anything like that really critique the pick. Pick number 7, Tyree Wilson, I like it. I like it a lot. In fact, I would go ahead and give it an early A. I think at worst it would be an A-. Keep in mind, the Raiders defense last year in total yards allowed was ranked 28th. Tyree Wilson's a guy who's going to come in day one and make an immediate impact. All right. So I like it. All right. Next up, round 2. Michael Mayer, tight end out of Notre Dame. So we alluded to early on in the video losing Darren Waller. I think it had to be done. All right. I really do think it had to be done. When I saw they traded up, took Michael Mayer, tight end from Notre Dame, once again, I loved it. All right, I think he is one of the best tight ends in the draft class. Last season at Notre Dame, he had 67 catches, 809 yards, along with 9 touchdowns. We know Josh McDaniels loves his tight ends. All right, and you pair him up with Austin Hooper, recent addition, and O.J. Howard, recent addition. And it's just multifaceted. It's versatile. And that's kind of what we're seeing, the main theme on both sides of the football with this Raiders draft class and free agency is they're becoming more versatile. And it's going to allow Josh McDaniels to be more creative. I know, Jimmy G, if he stays healthy, trust me, I promise you he is going to be solid. All right. It's going to be solid. They also took Aiden McConnell, the quarterback out of Purdue, a little bit later on in the draft, but we'll talk about that shortly. He's not, probably not going to be the long-term answer at QB, but let's at least give it a season with Jimmy G under helm and let's see what he can do. Because at the end of the day, he's a winning quarterback. He's familiar with Josh McDaniels' system, and it's just, he's not going to be bad. If he's healthy, there is no way, shape, or form Jimmy G is bad. All right. So Michael Mayer, tight end. I love the pick. I absolutely love it. Darren Waller, he's getting older, right? He's getting older and he has injury concerns. And that's the bottom line. The big question is, can he stay healthy? Well, at this point, you don't really have to worry about that anymore because you have Michael Mayer, you have Austin Hooper, and you have O.J. Howard. So I like the versatility at that tight end room. Byron Young, round 3, pick number 70. I like this pick a lot as well. If you've been a fan of this channel, if you've been following this channel for, however long, since like over a year since I made it, I love SEC players. All right. So defensive lineman out of Alabama, that is music to my ears. Last season with Bama, he had 48 total tackles. All right. 5.5 of those were for loss and 4 total sacks. So Byron Young, just continue to bolster up your defense. We saw it as well with Corian Bennett, cornerback out of Maryland. We also saw it with a personal steal of mine, Christopher Smith, safety out of Georgia, falling to round 5. I'm not quite sure how he fell to round 5. Georgia player, another SEC dog. The last 2 seasons, he had 3 interceptions combined. But I think if you were going to nitpick or even just point out a critique, a weakness for the Las Vegas Raiders last season, heading into this year, free agency or not, the cornerback position was number one. Or sorry, defensive back. Cornerback position was number one, but defensive backs, just kind of go hand in hand. So you get a cornerback in Jacorian Bennett round 4, and then also in round 5 you take another defensive back at safety, and Christopher Smith from Georgia. So I like the pick. Trey Tucker, round 3, number 100. I think Hunter Renfro's future with the Raiders was pretty up in the air regardless. Once we saw pretty much once you saw the departure of Darren Waller, I think it was kind of like, all right, Hunter Renfrow, it could be a 50-50 coin flip. If we're going to put money on it, most likely Hunter's future with the Raiders is pretty murky. I like Trey Tucker. Once again, versatility. If we go back to free agency, you picked up Jakobi Meyers. I think Jakobi Meyers is a dog. You also picked up another former Patriot in Philip Dorsett, who has just spooky speed. So Trey Tucker, wide receiver out of Cincinnati last season. The stats don't blow you out of the water. 52 catches, 672 yards, along with 3 touchdowns. But I like the pick. All right, I like the pick. And I think one thing, Raiders fans, we got to do here is at least give Dave Ziegler and this Raiders management and organization the benefit of the doubt. All right, draft class, let's wait and see what happens. Usually in the NFL draft, there's about 15 wide receivers who have day one immediate impact. I do think Trey Tucker will have a nice impact next season. You could take a look at the wide receiver room and be like, all right, well, they have Devontae Adams. They have guys like Jakobi Meyers. Why would you take a wide receiver at round 3 if there are still, cornerbacks available? It's a deep cornerback draft. There's still defensive issues because the Raiders don't have a great defense. Well, you got to remind yourself, whenever in the NFL are all your wide receivers healthy? Even at the start of the season, no team's wide receiver core is ever fully healthy. That's just not the way it goes. So I like the pick with Trey Tucker. And then real quick, I want to mention in round 6, they took Amari Burney, linebacker out of Florida. Point being, another SEC dog. I love the 3 SEC along with Tyree Wilson. I love the SEC cats that they took in their first couple of rounds, and then in their last, SEC pick in Amari Burney. So linebacker out of Florida. As a Florida resident, I love the draft pick. A little bit biased, but any player in the SEC, to me, I think more often than not, you're going to be pretty pleased with the impact they have. So I'm going to give it an A. I think the Raiders had an A draft class. I know we talked a lot about the class in today's video. So as the offseason progresses, we're going to continue to just kind of dial in a little bit more of the specifics. So stay tuned. Be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button. As always, let me know what you're thinking about today's video. Go ahead and give your Raiders draft grade down